Hey guys, this is Eckhart Slaughter. Hello and welcome to another video. So, the TIE Fighter. Let's talk about it. A few months ago, I made a video talking about how if you look solely at the on-screen feats of the X-Wing and the TIE Fighter, and if you analyze both ships logically, the TIE Fighter is actually a really competent, effective starfighter. That being said, if you look at the in-universe lore, especially in Star Wars Legends, the ship is often described as a cheap, disposable fighter. But what if I told you that there was a ship even worse, even cheaper, even more disposable than the TIE Fighter? We're talking about the A9 Vigilance. The A9 Vigilance first appeared in the Dark Empire trilogy. One thing I find somewhat funny is that the comic, and really its source book, presents it in one way, but all subsequent material presents it in a different way. It's almost like the Dark Empire source book can be read as marketing material for the A9 Vigilance. We'll start off with that, then we'll contrast what other source books have said. So, according to the Dark Empire source book, the A9 Vigilance was the Empire's response to the A-Wing. It was a sleek, stripped-down fighter, lacking shields and hyperdrive, but because it was so simple, it was one of the easiest fighters to learn. It was a state-of-the-art design, and apparently one of the best vessels ever produced by Kuat drive yards. Because of its low mass, it was exceptionally maneuverable, and although it was intended for use by the Galactic Empire, the New Republic was happy to take it. It was worth diverging from normal New Republic fleet doctrine, which of course favored hyperdrive-capable starfighters. Alright, so that's the Dark Empire sourcebook, presumably written by KDY. It presents the A9 Vigilance as a hyper-light, hyper-maneuverable starfighter, kind of the perfect ship for aces, but also easy enough for anyone to learn. Let's talk about what everyone else says. I think my favorite breakdown of the ship has to come from Star Wars Fact File 93. I was really happy I was able to track this down, especially because the subtitle says the following: though fast and well armed, the A9 Vigilance Interceptor was hindered by factors that were all too common in many Imperial fighter designs. It almost pokes fun at prior descriptions of the A9 in saying that although it was painted as a next-generation vessel which could easily replace the TIE Fighter, that was mostly marketing speak, and the fighter essentially ignored everything that made prior Imperial designs suffer at the hands of Rebel starfighters. For one, not only did the A9 Vigilance lack a shield, it actually had a much weaker hull than the TIE. Compare this with the TIE Interceptor, which had extra speed, great maneuverability, but still actually had better armor than the standard TIE. In that sense, the Vigilance was really a step back. This thing can survive a glancing blow from a main starfighter's cannons, and that's pretty much it. One thing that this article doesn't mention that others do, I feel like I should bring up now, is that although there were sacrifices made for the weight of the ship, that only actually increased speed, and maneuverability was actually a step down compared to existing Imperial models. Straight ahead speed is fine, I guess. That is one of the main strengths of the A-Wing, but maneuverability is much more important for short-range fighters like this. Add a hyperdrive and make it a hit-and-run craft, and I get where the speed comes in, but as it's set up, it doesn't really make sense to me. This is something the article actually points out explicitly. Its lack of a hyperdrive engine curtailed its use in strategic maneuvers involving long-distance engagements, as the fighters always required launching from and returning to a nearby hangar bay. The article concludes by saying the ultimate legacy of the A9 was in proving that the TIE Fighter line was not obsolete. One notable discrepancy between this article and some of the source books is in the weaponry of the Vigilance. We know one of the imagined use cases for this ship was in surprise attacks, using its extreme speed to hit a target then get out of there. Obviously, for that reason, weaponry is important. The fact file said that the A9 had a pair of linked turbo lasers. Now, turbo lasers are typically capital ship grade weapons. Notably, most other source books describe the Vigilance as having heavy laser cannons. I think that actually makes a lot more sense. Turbo lasers are slow firing, they require a lot of power. I don't think they make sense on a nimble starfighter like this, which we know was designed to have the least amount of mass possible. Either way, we know the ship was well armed. Moving on now. The Essential Guide to Vehicles and Vessels, as mentioned, describes the weaponry as a pair of laser cannons. which, and I quote, pack more punch than do an X-Wing's laser cannons. While they're generally fire-linked for simultaneous fire, a modification kit allows the laser cannons to be independently targeted. This source also mentions that the kit allows the gun to be depressed so that it can fire straight down at a 90-degree angle, basically perpendicular with the ship's plane, to strafe ground targets, although the fact file makes this seem like more of a stock feature. I do like that, but I like the X-Wing's approach a lot more. Laser cannons for starfighters and torpedo launchers for heavier targets. A heavy laser cannon like the kind featured on the Vigilance is going to be slow firing, and it's probably going to struggle in a dogfight. Combine that with its, well, lack of any sort of protection, and you're a dead man if you get into a real fight in this thing. Anyway, the Essential Guide to Vehicles and Vessels continues by saying, and I quote, "While Kuat drive yards promised the Empire a superior fighter, combat results have been consistently disappointing. While the ship is indeed faster than the TIE Interceptor, it has shown to be no more maneuverable, and the hull is actually significantly weaker. The Empire purchased a fighter that is as limited in its utility as the New Republic's A-Wing fighter." And I will note, limited, but also much less effective. Also, when it comes to pure stats, the A9 would have been probably slower and definitely, as confirmed by the new Essential Guide to Vehicles and Vessels, less maneuverable than an A-Wing. So we got a ship that was designed by a moron. It's somehow supposed to do sudden strikes against enemy bases and capital ships, but all it has going for it is its speed. However, it has to be launched from a capital ship or a base, so its speed can't even be used for a surprise attack. Also, even if it gets within range, this thing is so light, it doesn't have the actual weaponry to inflict any serious damage. The weaponry also will not be very useful in an actual dogfight. What is this thing supposed to do? I really don't know. Obviously, you're meant to put your pilots closest to retirement in it, so you don't have to pay pension payments. That's the only thing I can figure out. But that's the A9 Vigilance. I will end by saying that the Essential Guide to Vehicles and Vessels says that although New Republic engineers are not impressed by what they've seen, there are elements of the ship that they will be incorporating in future designs. What do you think that is specifically? The gun? The flight ejection system, which the Dark Empire source book even acknowledges doesn't even work? Maybe you like the large, powerful engines? I don't know. Let me know what you think down below. Also, there was an A10 Vigilance, but we don't know a whole lot about that ship. Presumably it was less shitty than this one, but who knows. Anyway guys, until next time, that's all I've got for you. If you enjoyed this video, do me a big favor, leave a thumbs up, leave a comment. If you want to see more stupid Star Wars videos, make sure to subscribe and turn notifications on. I love you, be safe, and may the Force be with you.